Hi, my name's Isaac, and this is a brand new 2023 Kia Sportage SX Prestige. And today, I'm gonna review it for you guys. The new front end styling on this Sportage is very unique. All right, Ted, we got the green light for the new Sportage, but before you start designing it, I just have one note from the higher ups here. It says, absolutely under no circumstances should you design the headlights to look like boomerangs, and then they included a picture of a boomerang. No boomerang headlights. Got it.
One motor vehicle production later.
Okay. Hey guys, before we begin, I want to give a huge shout out to Allentown Kia for allowing me to borrow this vehicle to review. For all your Kia needs, I'll leave a link to Allentown Kia's website in the description. And you can come in now. This is my friend and cameraman John, and he has started his own YouTube channel where he also reviews cars. I don't mind a little friendly competition. I actually welcome it. And so I'm giving him some promotion here. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description below. We actually both reviewed Kias today. I reviewed the Sportage and he reviewed a Forte. So I'll also appear in that video, in his Forte video, if you want to go check that out and give his channel some love. Now, as much as I've teased the front end styling of this, I think it at least stands out in a crowd of very boring mid-size SUVs. You can't deny that this new Sportage isn't a sleek looking vehicle, even if it might not be your specific taste in design. You'll have LED headlights down here and a pretty cool triangular turn signal. I think that's neat. You don't really see that in the industry all too often. Then you'll have parking sensors across the front bumper. You'll have LED fog lights down here. And then in the front of the grille, right here in the lower portion, this is the sensor for the safety technology that this includes, your radar guided cruise control, your lane keeping assist, stuff like that. That works in conjunction with a camera that's mounted at the top of the inside of the windshield. Then you'll have a camera right here for the 360-degree camera system, and you'll have Kia's new logo. Definitely a step up. I really feel like Kia has become an incredibly premium brand recently, and once we move to the interior, that'll really be evident on this particular Sportage. Moving underneath the hood in this Kia Sportage SX Prestige, which is a mouthful to say, this is powered by a 2.5-liter inline four-cylinder, making 187 horsepower and 178 pound-feet of torque, and that is paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission. Moving to the profile of the Sportage, starting here with the wheels and tires, you'll have 19-inch wheels right here. And while I might not love the front end styling, I think these wheels are fantastic. Some of the coolest wheels I've ever seen on any car. And they're on a Kia. I just love the design. I think this really helps the car to stand out even more than it already does. And then you'll have 235/55R tires. Moving up the body here, you'll have a body colored mirror cap with a turn signal indicator, a camera for the 360-degree camera system, and blind spot monitoring incorporated into that. And of course, the mirrors are power as well. Then you'll have keyless entry right here. And as we move down towards the back of the Sportage, you'll have your new Kia logo, which I mentioned I really like, and then your Sportage badge right there. Then you'll have a backup camera and parking sensors dotting the lower portion of the rear bumper here. Now, there's a couple of different ways to open up the rear liftgate. So one, there is a button right there you can tap. That's pretty standard. That's very common in the car industry. What's also very common is you also have a button up here to close it if you want. So nice grab handle there too as well. But if we also grab the key, this is a perfect time to talk about the key. Very interestingly, Kia puts their logo on the front, and then the remote start button is on the front, but everything else is here on the side. So if I can get this in focus, you'll have your lock, unlock, the raise and lower of your rear lift gate, And what's interesting here is you have to hold it. So if I let go, oh, never mind. I guess it only works on the lowering of it. So you can tap that to raise it, but if I want to lower it, I have to hold. So for example here, if I let go, it stops. I think that's really interesting. And then I would have to hold it again, and it's going to raise back up. So it's a little bit of a process here. Very interesting. Then holding it down, it's gonna lower all the way again. Just to show you that complete process. So I'm gonna tap that button one more time because we do wanna look back here. We wanna look at the cargo area. I guess I should have done that before I closed it. It's very spacious back here, incredibly spacious. You're gonna have a 12 volt back here, some lights, and then you'll have your option to drop the second row seats, and that's really nice as well. Moving to the interior, prestige indeed. This thing is incredible in here. Leather seats, Harman & Kardon speakers, heated and cooled seats, heated steering wheel, panoramic sunroof. I mean, oh, there's my arm. Incredible. And all for around $35,000 on this particular model. I mean, this is just wow. I mean, look at the LED screens right here. This is nearly Mercedes level in the interior quality and refinement, and it's half, if not a quarter, of the price of that. Let's start here on the door panel. You're gonna have a soft touch leatherette material up here. Really, really cool design on this door handle. I mean, look at that, that's so neat. Then you'll have your power seat adjustment memory settings right there. Then down here you'll have your window options, your mirrors, lock and unlock. No power folding mirrors on this, unfortunately, so there are some cost-cutting measures here. You'll have your traction control off, another button to raise and lower the lift gate, your electronic parking brake right here, and then this is the brightness or dimness for the illumination on the gauge cluster screen. Then this is a manually tilting and telescoping steering wheel, and you'll have some pretty nice turn signal. There's my cameraman, John. Pretty nice turn signals right here. So when you turn them on, it's gonna give you those blind spot cameras. That's so neat, really, really helpful. So you'll have a blind spot monitor, and you'll also have the camera in the mirror to help you in your blind spot, which is such a neat feature. And of course, this center screen is absolutely packed with information, digital gauge cluster, trip information. I mean, there's so much that you can go through here and cycle through. And then pulling back to the steering wheel here, it is leather wrapped, which is really nice. Again, new Kia logo right here. These controls are for that center screen, and then this is for your screen over here. We'll get to that in a minute, but for right now, very, very comfortable steering wheel. Definitely a nice place to put your hand. And then if we move down here, you're gonna have your hazards and your climate controls. Now, interestingly, this is a small screen as well, because if we hit this, that's going to give us the information for our screen, navigation, seek, radio, stuff like that. Many automotive journalists have talked about this in the past. I'll just throw my 2 cents in. Not a huge fan of that. It's a cool design that you can switch right between your climate controls and the infotainment stuff, but really you're going to be wanting to use your climate controls more often, and that's kind of inconvenient. You know, it's neat how they've saved space by using this as the volume and then also the temperature right there, but you know, decent party trick, but overall I would rather it just be the climate controls there. I really don't see a need for all the seek and skip tracks because really that's built into the infotainment system right here. Speaking of, very, very quick infotainment system, very spiffy. Like if we scroll here, look at how quick that is. Let's just go into, let's go into climate, for example. So if we pull that up, there's a lot of different settings that you can go through on here, and you can basically pull up the climate in this if you want. There's radio, valet mode. I mean, there's a lot of different stuff that you can go into. I like how on, see, here's the example. So I want to turn down the volume. Instantly I go to do this. Nope, that's just my climate controls. Then I have to click this to turn it down. Not ideal. But I do like how this is like an old-timey light bulb in a sense when you're tuning between stations. I think that's a really cool design. And then there is Apple CarPlay in this one. It looks like there's not wireless Apple CarPlay. I tried to hook that up. I believe it's wired CarPlay in here, but still very impressive system, really responsive. And if we throw this into reverse here, you'll have a 360-degree camera. There's my cameraman John again. And you can turn this so you'll have guiding lines, which is always really nice to see. Very high quality screen as well, and I love that it takes up the entirety of the screen. Some of these car manufacturers have giant screens, but they don't actually cover the entire screen when you're going into your backup camera. It's only like a little part, and that's disappointing. If we move down here, you'll have a pretty standard gear selector, your start-stop button, USBs, and you'll have wireless charging down here. Then you'll have heated seats, heated steering wheel, and cooled seats, as I mentioned previously. Really, really neat. And you'll have red accent striping here on the leather to match the seats and the door panels. Over here, you'll have a drive mode selector, which is really cool. So we can pull that up in the actual gauge cluster if we want, and that's going to change our gauges, which is so cool. So we have Smart, Sport, and Normal. Glad that they've included this, because I think it's kind of pointless to have a fully digital gauge cluster if you're not going to do something with it. So when we get this out on the road, we'll throw this thing at Sport and see how it is. And then you'll have hill descent control right here, automatic hold, rear parking sensors. This button pulls up your backup camera and your 360 cam if you want to do that just whenever. If you're not in reverse, then your automatic engine start stop feature. So when you're at a traffic light, if you want your engine to just turn off to preserve fuel, you can hit that button and then it'll come back on automatically. Now here is an incredibly neat feature, which I just think everybody should have. Everybody should have this, and I'm surprised that they don't. So this is currently set up to have two giant cup holders. So if you have 7-Eleven big glugs or whatever they're called, you can throw them in here, definitely enough room. But let's say you have a smaller cup and you don't want it to rattle around. Hit that button, it's gonna make a smaller cup holder. Look at that, it's so neat, it's so cool. And then what you can do is you can just spin those back around and they will click back in place. And let's see if I can hit them at the same time. Yes, really neat design. And I just think it's so cool that they've included that. I think more cars should do that. Just really smart. You'll have a little storage area down there and then a little armrest area. Nothing to write home about, but this armrest is very comfortable. Power seats, as I mentioned, very nice leather on here. I mean, really premium feeling. Definitely very comfortable, and the Harman & Kardon speakers sound amazing. Unfortunately, I can't play any audio because of copyright. But that pretty much wraps up the front here. Moving to the rear seats, tons of leg room back here. I'm 5'9", I probably have about 4 inches right there, and massive headroom. I probably have 3 or 4 inches here as well. And the sunroof actually helps. If the sunroof's open, I can set up a little bit more prostrate, and you probably get even a little bit more headroom for taller people right there. Moving down here, you'll have USBs in the sides of the seat, so that's really cool. You'll have climate vents down here, a little storage area, and you'll also have the ability to fold the armrest down right here with 2 cup holders, and that is really cool, very comfortable, just as comfortable as up front. Definitely a nice place to spend some time. All right, guys, I'm gonna try a new format for this driving segment. I've had a few people ask me if they could see the road while I'm driving, and so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start this driving segment, and we're gonna film this with just the road. We'll see how that is, and we'll probably tune with it as I continue to grow my channel and do different parts. But I wanted to know what you think of this. Do you like this format better? Do you prefer the my face? So let me know in the comments, and let's get started with this driving segment. Driving the Sportage, we're gonna put it in sport mode, which I think should be a required automatic feature in this car because sport is in the name of it. We're gonna see how this thing handles, hopefully pretty well. Merging onto the highway here, it is very comfortable, definitely a very smooth 8-speed automatic. You don't feel the gears a ton, and boy, is it amazing to just be able to hit my turn signal and see that blind spot. That is so useful. For this price tag, I would absolutely take a Sportage over anything else in the class. This is an incredibly comfortable SUV, and if we gun it here a little bit, you can really feel the power. You know, it's not going to throw you back like a Tesla would, but it definitely does get up to speed, even being a little 4-cylinder. So that's going to wrap up these new driving impressions. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. Are you a fan of this? Are you not? Are you like, no, show me your face more? Or would you prefer to see the road? Alrighty guys, that almost wraps up this video, but before I go, I'd like to read a little scripture for you. Now, normally I would do this segment with the car, but as I've delved a little deeper into scripture, I've realized context is incredibly important, and I want to be able to deliver the proper context to you guys. And so sometimes picking out a Bible verse really quick and just saying it, I don't feel like that's enough for these videos, and I want to get a little deeper into that. So today I'd like to read something that I thought was really cool that I'd never noticed before and makes a very famous biblical scene much more impactful than it was before. So I got to give you a little bit of lead up. Jesus has been healing people, saving people, and the Pharisees, who are the keepers of the Old Testament, the law givers in a sense, are very upset with Jesus because they do not believe he's the Son of God, and he's claiming to be the Son of God, and they're like, that's blasphemy, we should kill him. And so they grab Jesus, and they are intending on making it look like they're doing the law, but really they're about to bring him to a kangaroo court, which will convict him to death no matter what. And so one of his disciples, Peter, is following along, and previous to this, Jesus has told Peter that he will deny him 3 times before a rooster crows. And Peter's like, no way, I ain't going to do that. But we'll pick up here in Luke 22:56. Then a servant girl, seeing him as he sat in the light looking closely at him, said, this man was also with him, in reference to Peter being with Jesus. But he denied it, saying, woman, I do not know him. And a little later, someone else saw him and said, you are one of them. But Peter said, man, I am not. And after an interval of about an hour, still another insisted, certainly this man also was with him, for he too is Galilean. But Peter said, man, I do not know what you are talking about. And immediately, while he was still talking, the rooster crowed. And this is the really impactful part, because this is only found in Luke, this next sentence. The other gospel accounts of this event do not mention this, but I think it changes the entire scene. Verse 61, and the Lord turned and looked at Peter, and Peter remembered the saying of the Lord and how he had said to him, before the rooster crows today, you will deny me 3 times. And he went out and he wept bitterly. It's kind of a sad scene. Jesus had foretold of this happening. Peter says, no way, I love you, Jesus. I would never deny you. And he still does it. So what is this look that Jesus gives Peter? Because that's a pretty powerful moment. I personally, after reading some commentaries, don't think it's a, I told you, I gotcha moment for Jesus. I think it's one of sadness, maybe grace and mercy, knowing that Peter would do this, yet forgiveness in that, because Jesus also says that Peter is the rock that the church will be founded upon. And so Jesus knows that he's going to doubt in certain moments, or that he's going to slip up and fail, but he's still going to use him in an amazing way. Just like God would use us nowadays. Even though we're not perfect and we still fail, the key is asking for forgiveness, getting back up on the horse, and saying, all right, I learned from that mistake. I'm not going to do it again. God, I really want to pursue you. That's going to wrap up this video, guys. I'll see you next time.